So I've been looking forward to RUINER for quite a while now. I remember reading the prologue comic a couple months back, and when I saw the E3 trailer for the game, I was hyped as fuck. Now I actually tried to get my hands on an early review copy of this game since, as you all probably know, I am a pretty well-known YouTuber with my 100 subscribers, but for whatever reason Devolver didn't reply to my very professional email, and I ended up getting it on launch day like everybody else. Honestly though, for 20 euros it still cost me 40 bucks less than some AAA titles, which means that I have more money to spend on cheap, disgusting whiskey to help me forget all the terrible decisions I've made in my life. Whether purchasing RUINER on launch day at full price was one of those terrible decisions is something we're gonna figure out in this episode of Should You Play. I'm a huge sucker for anything cyberpunk. It's probably one of the reasons why I actually got interested in RUINER in the first place. The game is set in 2091 and got that nice cyberpunk setting that I love so much. The story of the game is fairly simple. Your brother was kidnapped and you're trying to get him back. I mean, there's some other stuff going on, but that's the general gist of it. I mean, the story is okay, but it's not really one of the game's strong points in my personal opinion. The gameplay on the other hand is top notch. Fast-paced combat, many different weapons, a bunch of abilities that you can freely choose from and adjust whenever you feel like it, and enemies that can be really tough. I did play the game on hard mode because it's the developer's recommended difficulty setting, and also I'm not a huge pussy, but even though I did die a lot of times, I really enjoyed the challenge. The game might be unforgiving, but I never really felt cheated, and every time I died I felt like it was my own fault. There are some abilities in the game that feel very overpowered though. Once you figure them out, you can make easy work of pretty much any boss, even on the hardest difficulty. The visuals of the game are very appealing. First of all, you obviously have the dark and gritty city with neon lights. Inside the city you got interesting characters that have beautiful designs and in general are just very interesting. When you're in the hub area you can actually read what people are saying, which helps flesh out the world a bit. I still would have liked a bit more world building though. You do acquire information throughout the game that gives you some background knowledge, but more insight on how things became how they are would have been really rad. By the way, the game can be flashy as fuck and I love that. Beautiful particle effects, a pretty good amount of gore and random glitches that happen from time to time. Combine all that with the freaking amazing soundtrack and you got yourself a game that will get you pumped up, whether you want it or not. It's just a very powerful combination. I do have a complaint when it comes to the environments in the game though. Especially the second half of the game all looks very samey. You're basically running from factory to factory and you're pretty much surrounded by steel walls at all time. There's obviously some differences between the levels, but to me it just wasn't enough of a change to actually feel different. I mean, why not let me fight enemies in dark alleyways? Slap some neon lights on the walls and you're pretty much guaranteed to give me a hard-on. But why make me fight surrounded by steel walls for over half of your game? Something else I should probably mention are the controls. I played the game with a controller since this is probably one of the few games where that actually seems like a good idea, and it honestly worked perfectly for me. There's some problems with mouse and keyboard controls though. First of all, when using WASD to move, you move diagonally. Like in this footage here, I'm pressing just W but not moving straight up. It might not seem like a huge deal, and I've been told that this was very common for games with top-down view like this back in the day, but to me it felt very awkward and just not right at all. Another problem is that at the point of me recording this review, you can't actually rebind the controls. The devs said that they're working on it though, so depending on when you're watching this video, it might actually be implemented already. Since we're talking about problems, the game also does this weird thing where it sometimes slows down time when you kill enemies. I mean, I get what they were going for with this. They wanted your attacks to feel stronger and make the impact feel more powerful. It just does not accomplish that though. Especially since there seem to be two different types of slowdowns. Sometimes the slowdown is nice and it's, well, actually a proper slowdown. Other times it's more of a stutter though, and it just feels like you're experiencing an FPS drop. The developers said on the Steam forums that this was a design decision, but that they're looking into it and working on reducing the number of times it actually happens. I'm definitely gonna keep an eye on this since, you know, it was kind of annoying while playing the game. RUINER is not a perfect game. But what game is perfect? It certainly is good, but it's not the ultra amazing cyberpunk experience I wanted it to be, which, you know, kind of disappointed me. Maybe I just had too high expectations. Either way, RUINER is a fun game despite all its flaws. It was challenging, the few characters we get to see regularly were pretty cool, and the combat was very hectic at times and a lot of fun. It kept me busy for around 10 hours during my first playthrough, and it will probably keep me busy for another 10 when I try to get the last few achievements I'm still missing. Again, it was not perfect, but to me, it was good enough. Should you play RUINER? Yeah, give it a try.